Hi, in this video I really want to go through what SQL credentials are and what SQL proxies are under SQL Server Agent. So these two things right here and how they're interrelated. So the reason why you need it is sometimes you're trying to run something within SQL Server, but the problem with SQL Server is you have logins that have no context outside of SQL Server. So an SA or a SQL Server login is not known to a Windows environment outside of SQL Server. There's no rights or there's no user assigned to it. So you might want to associate a user if you're running a certain job or if you're doing something outside of SQL Server. So the way to create a credential is you right click under security here, you right click on credentials, and I'm going to create a credential and I'm going to say super. Probably not a good thing, but maybe I'll just say DB admin. And the user I'm going to select is going to be a Windows user. Now you want to pick a user that has the rights that you want to execute your job or to execute the task you're doing. So I created a SQL DB admin, which is actually a domain user that's going to be good across several Windows servers. So it's going to be able to basically run a job on different servers because that domain user has permissions across those three servers versus a local user or versus a user that just has specific permissions on that one local machine. And I'm going to put in the password here, which is the domain password. Confirm the password. And I'm going to click OK. So now I have these credentials. And I could actually assign these credentials to a particular user. So if I click on SA, so now if it's running a job that interacts outside of SQL Server, like for example, even a command shell that brings up a DOS window or something like that, it'll actually be kind of for that user. So if I go under General here, you'll see Map to Credentials, and I could bring down, the credentials. And actually, you could script all this by simply going under Script, and if I click Add, you'll notice that's the command. So that's how you might want to script all of this, and same with how I created credentials, which is just simply the command create credentials with identity and then the secret as the password. So that's how you assign credentials to a particular user. But there are instances, for example, I had a SQL Server agent job that I was running, which is differential backups, and this job so happens to run under the local database. But if I was to centralize my backups and have this one job actually run backups across different servers in my database farm, then I might actually need a proxy for that. So if I open up the properties of this, you'll notice for each step within the SQL Server agent job, I could have run as, but I don't have any other choice other than SQL agent service account. So if I go under my services and I see what's running, what that job runs as is, it's actually running as the SQL Server user that I created, which is a local user. So it might not have enough permissions to run across another server. if that user doesn't have the rights there, and it obviously doesn't because this is a local user. So what I would have to do in that instance is actually create a SQL proxy. So I know that's an SSIS package, and I'll right click on proxy, and I'll create SSIS proxy user. Then I get to choose my credentials. And this is going to be the same credentials that I created before, which I called creds. I guess I could just do browse. Wonderful. Looks like that window's not coming up, so I'm going to just type in credentials. Okay, there you go. So now I'm going to click on this. Remember, this is the credentials that I created, credentials DB admin. And behind the scenes, this credentials DB admin is actually running as my SQL underscore DB admin user. Okay, cancel. I should remove this one, and that is what I want. Okay, I'm going to click OK here, and it's right there. I'm going to select SQL Server Integration Package. And I could actually add accounts that I want to put on here, like certain logins, but that's actually not necessary for what I want to do. So now I have the proxy set up. I'm going to hit refresh. You'll see the proxy is there. And now if I go back to my SQL Server agent job for a particular account that I want to run as, I could now run as that SQL proxy user. And it's a little bit nested. Behind the SQL proxy user is the credentials, and behind the credentials is the SQL underscore DB underscore admin Windows account that I'm running as. So for instance, in these data sources, you'll notice I'm actually using integrated services, integrated Windows services, not a particular SQL Server login. So this will actually run as that SQL underscore DB underscore admin user, not as the SQL agent job, not as this user here, SQL service, or any other user, or the login user. Is going to run as the proxy user. So those are two situations where you will have to create a SQL proxy, and that's how the proxies are related to these credentials here. And just to show you once again that this is the user that this proxy is going to run as. And it's a little bit confusing at first just because of how nested it is, but once you get used to it, it kind of makes sense. So alright, there you go. That's the demo of what the credentials and proxies are used for. Okay, thank you for watching.